Under 23 Wonderkids 11 for next season. And I'll be talking to you about last season's players because we have to talk about the past to predict the future. But I want to see your comments down below expressing who is the best Wonderkids in the Premier League, the must talks that we got to do. And if you're listening until now, like this video. But yes, I'm curious, Breton. I'm curious.
Yep.
Who do you have at goal?
Well, I believe there's only one, if I'm not mistaken.
For next season, there's two. Next season, there's two possibilities.
Okay. Who's the second? I got the first one at Brighton. Who's the second?
James Trafford at Burnley.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, right. I'm sorry, that just got done. You're right. You are right. Well, I'm still gonna go with Bart Verbruggen. I'm going to go with Bart Verbruggen.
We got the same one.
He has not yet been named the number one, but Robert Sanchez is very clearly on the outs. It's whether or not forgetting the other guy's name, who did very well for them near the end of the season. But Bart Verbruggen, I watched him quite a bit last season in the Pro League. Really enjoyed him. I think Brighton's going to love him. They did it for a decent cost. He is definitely going to be one. If he doesn't win the number one right away, I believe he will be number one by the end of the season. So my goalkeeper is Bart Verbruggen, but you're going to pick James Trafford.
No. Yeah. I'm going to pick Bart Verbruggen too. Because I believe when Brighton signed Bart Verbruggen from Anderlecht is for two reasons.
Yeah.
Immediate impact to play and start, and to maybe sell on in the future as the most expensive goalkeeper in the history of football. This is the potential of the kid, okay? He's great.
Yeah.
I saw him in the under-21 Euros for the Netherlands. He's got potential.
Yep.
And I do believe that a team like Brighton, when they have potential, we can see miracles like we see with many other talents that we'll be talking in this video. Comments, predict the talents that we will be expressing. Maybe not in our 11, but definitely we'll be talking about these Wonderkids. But I'm like you. I'm with Bart Verbruggen. But okay. If I'll start with my defense. You started with the goalie.
Yeah.
I'll start with my defense. So I want to say my defense of last season, of the Premier League players right now, and the one for next season, because it's going to be bold choices. And the reasoning why I don't have a player there. People are just going to... This is going to be a massacre, Breton. So, my defense for the next season of under-23 talented players in the Premier League, I have in goal Bart Verbruggen. I have at left back Milos Kerkez. Watch out for him at Bournemouth. I have Timber. I have... Timber Gvardiol. I have Gvardiol if he signs for City. Timber, that's right. It's huge snub. And Saliba next to Gvardiol. And at the right back spot, I have Reece James. So I have Bart Verbruggen, Milos Kerkez, Gvardiol, Saliba, and Reece James. Expecting that Gvardiol is going to Man City. Come on, Fabrizio Romano. You didn't screw up that deal. It's still going to happen. Don't worry.
Yeah. Oh, and sad shout out to Wesley Fofana, whose season ends before it even begins. It's just so depressing. And Chelsea, once again, going to have to figure out what to do with this. So I don't envy Pochettino right now, and I also don't envy Wesley Fofana. But best of spirits to Wesley Fofana, and hopefully comes back stronger. But, okay, I like it. We agree in a lot of ways. I think we need to have a bigger conversation about how Bournemouth is pulling in this clout, this transfer clout, because my left back of defenders, or my left back, I'm sorry,
for next season.
My defense, U23 Premier League defense for next season is at left back Milos Kerkez, like you, going to Bournemouth, and Ivan Fresneda might join him in the future on that right side. We'll see. My center back pairing is William Saliba, and my other center back is Sven Botman. Don't think he got enough credit for how well he transitioned as part of Newcastle last season, and how big he's going to be for Newcastle this season. And my right back, like you, is Reece James, but I'm going to throw a special shout out there. Pedro Porro had a pretty bad start to life at Spurs, and then he really came on strong near the end of the season. I'm going to throw in Pedro Porro to have a very good season for Spurs under Big Ange, because I think Big Ange is going to do good things for Spurs this season.
Completely agree with that statement. Pedro Porro was stated as the worst signing in Premier League history by some people live, And that was a mistake to do because Pedro Porro should be called up to the Spanish national team because he's got that level and dog in him. I love that show. But I just want to say, my defense of last season under 23 players in the Premier League, I have in goal. I think I have Meslier. Then I have Reece James. I have Levi Colvill and Saliba. And then I have Tyreek Mitchell. But I wanted to say this talk on Levi Colvill. Yeah, but Kerkez will be much better than him next season. But I wanted to say Levi Colvill. I think we should just focus a bit on Levi Colvill because if Levi Colvill goes to the right club, no doubt in my mind, he's in the best under 23 lineup of the Premier League. The right club is working out at Chelsea or maybe staying at Brighton. What would you do, Brighton, if you were Levi Colvill?
Well,
go to Liverpool.
As of right now, as of Wesley Fofana's sad injury again, to be honest, it looks more and more likely that Pochettino should try and keep Levi Colvill there. I actually think he should keep Levi Colvill there, start him for the most part, or give him as many games as possible this particular season, and do it in expense of bringing in Moises Caicedo from Brighton. Leave him alone. Get him next season if you can. But ultimately, Levi Colvill, I think, is more important for Chelsea than Moises Caicedo is at this moment in time.
They need Caicedo. Look how many midfielders left Chelsea. And I know there's other options in the market for midfielders, but it just makes so much sense to get Caicedo with Enzo.
That's my own point. That's my only point. Because if you're not going to put up or shut up with Brighton's asking price, you've already taken a lot from Brighton. If you're not going to play their game and pay their $100 million, then by all means, and you're not going to let go of Colville too. Then I don't know what to tell you.
Chelsea,
but I do believe that.
I love that saying. Chelsea have taken so much from Brighton. They've taken Graham Potter. They've taken Cucurella. Billy Gilmore though was taken to the other side, but Chelsea did want to let him go, and now they're going to take Caicedo. This is a robbery. Day-night robbery by Todd Boehly.
And the funny thing is everybody papers over that, right? Everyone papers over that simply because Roberto De Zerbi actually worked out.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, we all know how that could have gone. But yes, we have one of the rarest sightings ever where Roberto De Zerbi takes over after a relatively beloved Graham Potter and one that did really, really great things at Brighton. We can't discount that. And he makes the team better and actually more attractive.
But Levi
more
Colvill,
attractive than Brighton previous. But yes, Levi Colvill should stay at Chelsea. That's my thought. And he will get time this season and he will be played properly by Pochettino. He will stay at Chelsea. That's my guess.
That's a great shout. But people, tell us your thoughts about Levi Colvill, that we all think he's got world-class potential, but we agree that it's in the right club. So midfield. Midfield. Yeah. I think, midfield. I'm going to snub a player that I rate so high. And I'm going to explain why, because people are going to I don't think they should hate on me because of it, because I'll explain why. But it's just sad. I have the same midfield of last season to this season. But my midfield, my best midfield of under 23 in a 4-3-3 system of the Premier League, I would play Caicedo with Enzo, double pivot, and I would put ahead of them Phil Foden. I rate so high Szoboszlai, but Foden has that experience in the Premier League, and he's got that dog in him right now because Gundogan is left, and he's got to prove himself as a top 5 under 23 youngster. That in the Champions League, he had glimpses. But if he's going to be talked next to Vinicius, next to Haaland, next to all these big names, Phil Foden has to perform as a world-class player in an established team like Man City. So that's why I have this midfield. But again, Szoboszlai, it hurts me not to put them in this team. Hurts me.
Yeah. I'm going to do the same to you. I'm going to do the same to our listeners because I feel it's necessary. Szoboszlai is probably going to make us all look silly by the end of the season. But my midfield, exactly same double pivot, Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernández. But I got to throw Jacob Ramsey in there. I think he can take his game up another level for Aston Villa, especially with who they're bringing in. And the amount of strengthening and a full season under Unai Emery. I think he was one of the better U21s in the entire league last season, let alone U23. But Jacob Ramsey for that added
bold statement alert.
He took last season. So,
bold statement alert.
Ramsey,
You're putting Jacob Ramsey ahead. This is a bold statement alert right here. You're putting Jacob Ramsey ahead of Phil Foden and Szoboszlai.
Well, I also treat Foden as part of the attack too.
The trio of wingers. So you don't have Martinelli. Yeah, oh my gosh, Brenton!
Martinelli did not win the treble.
Oh, but Martinelli got 15 goals as a winger.
He did get 15 goals. He did get 15 goals. You're right. You're right. And if Foden was called upon more, if he was called upon more, he probably would have scored 15 goals as well.
I do agree with that, but I don't take him out. Oh my gosh, Francis. So let's go with the midfield and the trio of forwards, because you might understand. Because at the left wing, the best under-23 player to play at the left wing in the Premier League, it's unanimous, it's Bukayo Saka. The player that impresses me the most every time I watch England play. He's that star boy. And that extension at Arsenal is crucial and vital, just like they got Martinelli and Saliba. Bukayo Saka is my left wing. Striker. I think we both have the same too. The best goal scorer, the top goal scorer, the best goal scorer in the world, the top goal scorer in the Premier League and in the Champions League. The one to break the record of most goals scored in one season in the Premier League. It's Erling Haaland, the best striker in the Premier League. At right wing, I have Martinelli. I keep it simple.
Fair enough.
I keep it simple because this trio of forwards, they just score goals. And Mudryk, that's the player. Yeah. I want to see Mudryk maybe being in the talk of this shout out of front trio of under 23. I want to see Mudryk better next season. I want to see Noni Madueke better next season. Garnacho better next season. All these players should be in the talk of best under 23 and make a difficult decision. But I think right now the Arsenal boys, Anthony too, the Arsenal boys have it ahead. Martinelli and Saka.
Yeah. Done. Yeah, and I'm 100% in agreement with that. I'm just throwing Phil Foden out there because of his importance to the squad, even if it is, more so in a versatile role. So Phil Foden, Erling Haaland, and Bukayo Saka is my front three. But obviously, Gabriel Martinelli last season, if we're talking about last season, he deserves to be on there. But if we're talking about who I'm watching for this season, Phil Foden is, especially if Bernardo Silva, they don't play the same role or anything like that. But in terms of importance and stature and the expectation to step up in big games, all that goes out the window if Bernardo Silva leaps. Okay, Phil Foden is going to have to fill that kind of existential role in Pep Guardiola's side. So that's why I bring him up for next season, unless of course they sign somebody out there of his quality, of Bernardo Silva's quality, which you have already said to me. That is virtually impossible.
Bernardo Silva, I think the only player that can replace Bernardo Silva, if it's going to happen, and I don't think he gets to that level, is Nicolo Barella. I understand the comments on that, because that's a player that when he has the ball in his feet, it's like glue. Impossible to take, knows how to read the game very well, and would work out well with a coach like Guardiola. But I don't think he's as good going forward and scoring goals than Bernardo Silva. I think he's a step ahead. Yeah. And that's why that's vital for Man City. But you put Jacob Ramsey ahead of Dominik Szoboszlai and the head of Olise.
I honestly don't think he gets enough credit for what he did last season. I really don't. I honestly don't. If you're going to put Unai Emery in there, based on that small sliver of hope of him inheriting a badly beaten down Villa team, and bringing them all the way to 7th place in UEFA Conference League, then you got to give Jacob Ramsey a whole lot of momentum or a whole lot of love for him being one of the guys to get them there, because Kamara was injured a lot of the season. There were a lot of injuries that Aston Villa had to actually go through, they still got it done. So Jacob Ramsey, for me, at his age, he's doing a wonderful, wonderful thing. Now, Dominik Szoboszlai is definitely one to watch this season, and I am not that stupid to think. It's a game of inches, or even if that's the right way to say it. But I love both of them. But I really just want to bring up, before I forget to say this, I am really, really excited about watching the striker crop of players this coming season. I mean, Erling Haaland, having to put him there so begrudgingly because he's so damn good. It papers over Alexander Isak. It papers over Evan Ferguson, Julian Alvarez, João Pedro and Julio Enciso at Brighton. I know are not necessarily strikers per se, but Nicholas Jackson at Chelsea. These are all players, obviously, we want to watch this season. I mean, we are chomping at the bit. Armand Broja may be having an impact. I am chomping at the bit just to watch these guys play some football this season. So that's why it's hard to say Erling Haaland and striker when you want to talk about all the guys below Erling Haaland.
And we still might have Rasmus Winter-Højlund signing to the Premier League too, with all the list that you've expressed. But Man United, shout out to them, having Garnacho, Amad Diallo, great players. Interested to see what's going to happen in the future. But I want to give special credit to a team that knows how to use their youngsters. That is Brighton, that you mentioned. Brighton will have Bart Verbruggen. Maybe Levi Colvill. Let's see what happens. But Brighton next season will for sure have Julio Enciso, Evan Ferguson, Bart Verbruggen, Billy Gilmore, Buena Notte, that will have a huge impact in my opinion. And let's see what happens with Caicedo. But regardless, they are elite with their recruitment, and I wanted to give a special credit to that. And Arsenal, I said 3 players in my best. These 3 players, Martinelli, Saka, and Saliba, they should be in the under-23s of the Premier League in any debate, in my view. And Arsenal has extended the contracts of the 3. So that speaks levels of Arteta ball and the fact that they have done this. And I wanted to say, too, Lavia, Romeo Lavia, I think deserves a special credit too, because he's 19. Onana was very special too at Everton. I think Nathan Patterson, James Garner, we can mention them too briefly. But Lavia is a player that I understand him going for 50 million. And I think it's a huge mistake from last season. That one of the only mistakes that the City group has done in the last years, that it was to sign Calvin Phillips and to sell on Romeo Lavia. Man City should have done that, and I really want to give credit to Lavia because at the right team, he could be a starter in this team. So
All right, well, I gotta throw some shout outs here because come on, this is our wheelhouse. We're FC Wonder Kid for a reason. You just mentioned a whole bunch, but there are actually some others. In midfield, Danilo for Nottingham Forest, I thought had a great influence near the end of the season. I'm going to watch him wholeheartedly. I mean, I loved him. You and I talked about him when he was at Palmeiras. I'm really, really, really excited to see what he can do in a full season with Nottingham Forest. And then on top of that, Michael Olise for what he did for Crystal Palace last season, even with Vieira getting sacked and all that good stuff. He was up there with the assists. He's just in a really deep winger U23, type of situation here. And then at center back, I gotta throw out Ilya Zabarny. Bournemouth right now in most mid-table or lower-table Premier League teams are showing the clout of Premier League in the transfer market by hijacking Milos Kerkez, by potentially getting Ivan Fresneda at Bournemouth. But they got one last season for about 20 million. Ilya Zabarny, and he was injured for the most part, but he is not injured this season. So I would expect him to have a very good season for Bournemouth at center back. And it's one that I'm really, really going to be watching. And then I got to have just one more shout out. Just give me one more, because I think this is the season that Chris Richards breaks through for Crystal Palace at center back or at fullback. And please let it be so, because in the time that he has played for the U.S. men's national team, he has shown that he is incredibly, incredibly good. And I think he's good enough to be good for Crystal Palace. No, he's not good enough to be on this 11 right now, but he is one that, as a U.S. fan, I will be watching, wholeheartedly hoping he breaks through. Hopefully that happens.
That's a good shout, Chris Richards. Let's see if it works out, and I think it might happen. I like that. I like what you're saying with that. I just want to say my top 5 too. My top 5 under 23 youngsters in the Premier League. I have at number 5, I got Phil Foden. Number 4, I've got Saliba. Number 3, I got Enzo Fernández. And my number 2 is Saka. And number 1, the best goal scorer in the world, top 3 Ballon d'Or contender, Erling Haaland. Okay? I think that's the top 5. But leave in the comment section your top 5 below. We want to see and like this video for listening until now. But the 11. The 11. Yes. So, my best 11 with Gvardiol. My best 11 with Joško Gvardiol signing for Man City has... my best 11 of under 23 players with Gvardiol signing for City has Bart Verbruggen in goal, Milos Kerkez at left back with Gvardiol, Saliba at Reece James at right back, and my trio in midfields I've got Enzo and Caicedo double pivot with Phil Foden ahead of them. Hard to snub Dominik Szoboszlai, and my trio of forwards I got Martinelli, 15 goals in the Premier League, Saka, best left winger in the Premier League maybe, And in goal, top goal scorer, I've got Erling Haaland. Easy choice. In goal, scoring goals. So Erling Haaland.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's generally not the goalkeeper that has a good game when Erling Haaland's around. All right, my Premier League U23 11 of players to watch this coming season. We're the same goalkeeper Bart Verbruggen at Brighton. All across the board defense, you got Milos Kerkez at Bournemouth, William Saliba at Arsenal, Sven Botman at Newcastle, because I don't think that Josko Gvardiol deal, I think it might get over the line. We'll see.
It will.
Reece James, right back, Chelsea. If he gets injured again, watch out for Malo Gusto. My midfield is Enzo Fernández, Moises Caicedo, and I'm throwing a nice little wrench in the system here. I'm saying Jacob Ramsey for what he did for Aston Villa last season, and yes, I believe Szoboszlai is going to be good. Don't at me. And my forwards are Phil Foden. We've got Erling Haaland, and we've got Bukayo Saka. I'm sorry, Martinelli. We'll see if you can do it again this season, but you were amazing last season.
And I think Martinelli will end up in his career becoming the all-time leading goal scorer for a Brazilian player in one season in the Premier League. That record is held by Firmino with 15 goals, and Martinelli equaled this season. But he'll surpass it one of the next ones.
pound for pound, already one of the craziest finds in Arsenal history.
For 6 million? Unbelievable.
Yeah. Based on where they plucked him from, I mean, it's an absolute insane feat of scouting.
I completely agree. But people, tell us your 11s in the comment section. And if you like this video, don't forget to go bold.